They say when you meet your soulmate, your heart will know. But what if your heart has been broken too many times to recognize truth from trauma? What if the warmth that feels like love is just the echo of an old wound calling you home to pain you already know? You've met someone. They make you feel alive, but also restless. You can't tell if this is destiny or déjà vu. They remind you of something you can't quite name, yet your body reacts as if it's been waiting for them forever. You feel pulled, magnetized, almost consumed. And somewhere deep down, a quiet voice asks, is this love, or am I just addicted to being seen? Carl Jung once said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there's any reaction, both are transformed. But he also warned that not every transformation is divine. Some are born from the shadows we haven't faced. Some people enter our lives not to love us, but to awaken the parts of us that still ache for healing. So in this video, we'll dive into something most of us have lived, but never named: the haunting difference between a soulmate and an attachment. You'll hear truths that may sting a little, but only because they touch something sacred inside you. You're longing to love and be loved without losing yourself. If you've ever felt that pull towards someone who felt like home but left you in ruins, if you've ever mistaken chaos for chemistry or silence for safety, stay with me. This conversation isn't about judging your heart. It's about understanding it. Take a breath. Let yourself soften. You don't have to fight to figure it out. You just have to listen to the quiet within you that already knows the difference between love and attachment. And before we begin, if this message already feels like something you needed to hear today, I'd love for you to subscribe and stay connected. Because here, every word is meant to remind you that your heart isn't broken. It's remembering how to feel safely again. When we meet someone who feels like the one, it often doesn't start as a gentle sunrise. It comes like thunder, fast, loud, impossible to ignore. They walk in, and suddenly your world rearranges itself around their presence. You start noticing colors you've never seen before. Songs you'd long forgotten suddenly make sense again. It feels as though the universe has conspired for this very moment. But here's the truth. No one tells you not every intense connection is sacred. Sometimes it's familiar. Sometimes it's your nervous system whispering, "This feels like home." Because home, once upon a time, was unpredictable. Because love, as you first learned it, was something you had to earn. You mistake the rush for recognition. You call it fate, but really it's a body remembering the pattern that love equals effort, that attention must be chased, that silence means danger. It's not that you're weak or blind. It's that your heart has been trained to confuse comfort with survival. A soulmate doesn't drown you in feeling. They invite you to breathe. They don't make you question your worth. They remind you of it. But when attachment speaks, it speaks through longing, the kind that burns, that aches, that makes you forget who you were before them. You start to orbit their moods. You check your phone more often. Your heart races with every delay in their reply. Their approval becomes your peace. Their distance becomes your panic. It's a quiet kind of dependency that feels poetic, but it's really just your younger self trying to finally be chosen. You tell yourself it's passion. You say, "We just have this deep connection." And maybe you do. But depth doesn't always mean destiny. Sometimes it's just the echo of an unfinished story, the same pain wearing a different face. Carl Jung believed that the people we are most drawn to reflect the parts of us we've disowned. So when you meet someone and feel an inexplicable pull, ask yourself, what part of me are they awakening? Is it love, or is it my oldest wound asking to be seen? Love heals you quietly. Attachment reminds you of your ache. One expands your world. The other narrows it to a single person you can't stop thinking about. And it's in that moment, when your joy depends entirely on someone else, that you start to lose yourself. There's a certain loneliness that hides inside attachment. It's not loud. It's not even easy to notice at first. It lives between text messages, in the silence, after an argument, in the way you wait for them to say your name just to feel real again. You begin to live in anticipation not of love, but of relief. Relief that they still care, that they haven't left, that you still matter. You start bargaining with yourself. You tell yourself that love means patience, that maybe they're just busy, that all great relationships have ups and downs, but deep down you know what you're doing. You're trying to hold together something that keeps slipping through your fingers. Attachment feeds on anxiety. It thrives in the in-between. It keeps you up at night, wondering what you did wrong, crafting perfect words to win them back. It's the kind of love that makes you shrink to stay close. But soul connection, real, grounding, unexplainable love, it doesn't ask you to chase it. It doesn't make you question whether you're enough. It doesn't vanish when you stop performing. It feels calm, like standing barefoot on solid ground. It feels like being seen, not tested. Sometimes we confuse peace with boredom because we've only known intensity. When someone treats us with steadiness instead of chaos, it can feel strange, like something's missing. But that something isn't passion. It's pain. We've mistaken the adrenaline of fear for the electricity of love. You see, your body remembers what your mind has forgotten. The arguments you witnessed as a child, the cold distance, the moments you had to earn affection through good behavior or silence. And when you meet someone who mirrors that energy, even just a little, your body says, "This feels like home." But home wasn't safe. It was familiar. So when you feel that lightning bolt connection, pause. Ask yourself, does this feel alive or does it feel unstable? Because love that heals doesn't come with confusion. It comes with understanding. It doesn't make you wait to feel chosen. You just are. And yet, we all fall into the trap. We all meet someone who wakes up every wound we thought we buried. And sometimes, that person isn't meant to stay. They're meant to show us what's still unhealed, the hunger, the fear, the loneliness we've carried for years. There's a strange beauty in those connections that break us open. They come like a mirror we didn't ask for, showing us what we've hidden under years of pretending to be fine. When you meet someone who feels like they see right through you, it can be intoxicating. But sometimes, what they're really seeing are the fractures, the places inside you that are still bleeding quietly. You might think, if they can see my pain, they must be my person. But recognition isn't always safety. Two wounded souls can find each other and mistake that shared ache for love. You both understand emptiness. You both crave closeness. You both fear being left. So you hold on tighter and tighter until love becomes survival again. But real connection doesn't complete your wounds. It holds space for them to heal. It doesn't rescue you. It reminds you that you were never lost. Jung said that we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The same is true in love. Meeting your soulmate isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about meeting the one who gently hands you your own shadow and says, "This too is you." When you confuse attachment for love, you end up chasing moments instead of building memories. You crave their validation more than their presence. You call the storm passion and the silence intimacy. And every time you feel distance, you panic, not because they're gone, but because the illusion is fading. But your soulmate, they won't make you chase. They'll meet you. They'll look at you in your stillness and say, "You don't need to perform for me." They'll listen, not to reply, but to understand. They'll hold your hand when you tremble, not because they want to fix you, but because they believe in your ability to heal. Love like that doesn't always feel dramatic. It feels safe. And safety, when you've lived your whole life in emotional chaos, can feel unfamiliar, even dull. But it's not dull, it's peace. And peace is the language of the soul. So when you're standing in front of someone and wondering if they're your soulmate or just your mirror, listen to your nervous system. Love will ground you. Attachment will set you on fire and call it destiny. It often begins with silence, not the comfortable kind, but the heavy one. The one that fills the space between two people who used to talk for hours. You start to sense the distance before it's visible. Their words are still warm, but their eyes have cooled. You tell yourself not to overthink it, yet your body feels the truth before your mind dares to name it. That's what attachment does. It teaches you to chase closeness that keeps running from you. You mistake the anxiety of losing them for proof that you love them deeply. But real love doesn't make your chest tighten every time they walk away. Love doesn't make you question if you're too much or not enough. Love doesn't demand that you prove your worth. A soulmate connection, though it's quieter, deeper, more stable. It's the kind of presence that feels like exhaling after years of holding your breath. You don't need to guess what they're thinking. You don't feel small beside them. You can disagree and still feel loved. You can have space and still feel safe. Jung once said that what we most need to find will be found where we least want to look. Often, that means facing the truth that what we called love was really an ache for validation. You weren't in love with them. You were in love with how they made you forget your loneliness. That realization hurts. It breaks the illusion that intensity equals intimacy. But this pain is holy because it opens your eyes to something bigger than romantic longing. It reveals the longing for your own soul, the part of you that's been waiting all along for you to return home. You start to see that your soulmate isn't the one who fills your emptiness, but the one who inspires you to no longer run from it. They don't distract you from your healing. They deepen it. They help you feel safe enough to face yourself. So if you're wondering how to tell the difference, ask yourself, does this love make me softer or smaller? Because love that's true makes you more gentle with yourself. Attachment makes you more desperate. Love opens your heart. Attachment tightens your grip. And slowly you'll begin to recognize that peace doesn't come from finding someone new. It comes from remembering who you are when you stop begging to be loved. There's a quiet kind of power that comes the day you finally stop chasing what doesn't stay. At first, it feels like loss, the shaking kind, the hollow kind, the kind that makes you want to run back just to hear their voice again. You replay moments in your mind, hoping one will feel different this time, but all you find are fragments. The high of connection, the crash of silence, the cycle you swore you'd never repeat. And then, one morning, something shifts. You wake up and realize that missing them isn't the same as needing them, that peace doesn't depend on their presence, that what you called love was really a longing for relief from the ache of your own self-forgetting. That's when healing begins. Quietly, without applause, without the other person returning. You start to notice the way the air feels softer when you breathe for yourself again. You start to feel joy in ordinary things, sunlight on your skin, the weight of your own laughter returning to your body. You begin to understand what Jung meant when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Because now you see you weren't cursed in love. You were repeating a story you didn't know you were still inside of. Every person who left wasn't punishment. They were a mirror showing you the places where you abandoned yourself first. Every heartbreak was a doorway. Every ending, a teacher. And when you start to truly meet yourself, not the version shaped by fear, but the one that existed before the world told you who to be, that's when your energy changes. You stop attracting those who feed on your neediness. You start drawing in those who match your peace. That's when your soulmate finds you, not because you went searching, but because you became visible to truth. They'll recognize you by the light in your eyes, by the steadiness in your voice, by the way you no longer chase. You'll feel their presence like a familiar calm, the kind that says, "I've known you before, but this time, we both stayed." And that's when you'll know love isn't supposed to burn, it's supposed to build. When you finally understand the difference between attachment and love, something inside you unclenches. The noise quiets. The urgency fades. You no longer need to be chosen because you've chosen yourself. You no longer wait for someone to complete you because you've learned how to sit with your own company and feel whole. At first, this new kind of peace might feel strange. You might mistake it for emptiness because your body was used to chaos. You might even feel bored, not realizing that what you're feeling is calm, the kind of calm that comes after years of emotional storms. But give it time. Let stillness become your new normal. Let safety feel familiar again. And then, without warning, love appears not as a rescue, but as recognition. It doesn't demand attention. It invites presence. It doesn't ask you to change. It honors the change you've already made. This love won't make you forget your past. It will help you forgive it. Your soulmate doesn't come to heal you. They come because you've already begun healing yourself. They're drawn to the peace you've earned, to the quiet strength behind your smile. You'll notice that you don't feel anxious around them. You're not waiting for the next text or reading between the lines of every silence. You just know. And knowing doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like exhale. It feels like coming home to yourself and finding someone sitting there, waiting, not to save you, but to share the view. That's the paradox Jung hinted at. You meet your soulmate only after you meet your soul. You can't recognize them while you're still searching for someone to fill the emptiness inside you. You'll only confuse attachment for destiny. But once you've faced your shadows, once you've learned to sit in your own quiet and still feel worthy of love, your energy shifts, and that's when everything aligns. Not because fate suddenly favors you, but because you're finally aligned with truth. The love that comes then doesn't feel like chasing or proving or fixing. It feels like breathing steady, real, kind. So if you're still searching, don't look for your soulmate. Look for the places within you that still ache for rescue. Heal those, and your soulmate will find you by the light that healing leaves behind. There will come a moment maybe when you're sitting alone in a quiet room, or standing beneath the soft weight of evening light when you'll feel it. That subtle knowing, that whisper of peace that says, I don't need them to love me for me to be whole. It won't arrive with grand gestures or dramatic tears. It'll be gentle, like the closing of a long chapter. You'll look back at all the faces that once felt like forever, and instead of pain, you'll feel gratitude. Gratitude that they taught you what love isn't, so you could finally understand what love is. You'll realize how often you begged for crumbs when you were meant to feast. How many times you settled for almost, for maybes, for some days, because you didn't yet believe you deserved consistency. But the more you heal, the more you see that love was never supposed to hurt this much. That intensity isn't intimacy. That real love doesn't confuse you. The soul recognizes truth quietly. You'll know you've met your soulmate when the connection feels familiar, but not frantic. When your peace grows in their presence, not your anxiety. When you can be yourself, the messy, honest, complicated you, and still feel cherished. They will look at you not as a project to fix, but as a mirror of their own becoming. You'll both carry scars, but neither of you will use them as weapons. You'll speak with softness, even when you disagree. You'll give space without fear. You'll love without losing your own center. And yet, you'll also understand that even a soulmate cannot complete you. Because the truth is, they're not the destination, they're the reflection. They show you how far you've come, how deeply you've learned to love yourself. They meet you at the level of your own awareness. So when you find them, don't hold on out of fear. Hold gently, with reverence, because love, when it's real, doesn't demand. It honors, it breathes. It allows both people to keep growing, to keep becoming, to keep choosing each other freely, not from need, but from knowing. That's when you'll understand. The truest soulmate is the one who reminds you that you are already whole. And maybe, someday, you'll find yourself sitting across from someone, maybe in a quiet cafe, maybe under a dim lamp in your own living room, and you'll feel it. Not the spark that burns too fast, not the rush that makes your stomach twist, but the steady pulse of something ancient, familiar, safe. They'll look at you and smile, not because they want something from you, but because they see you really see you. The way you laugh when you're nervous. The way your eyes soften when you talk about something you love. The way you've learned to protect your heart, but still keep it open. And it'll hit you in the most ordinary moment. This is what love is supposed to feel like. Not a storm, but a sunrise. Not possession, but presence. Not chaos, but clarity. You'll realize that everything before every heartbreak, every tear, every night you doubted your worth was leading you here, to this peace, to this softness, to this version of yourself that finally believes love doesn't have to hurt. Carl Jung believed that the soul contains both the shadow and the light, and that our task is not to deny either, but to integrate them. In love, that means meeting someone who accepts both your light and your shadow, who can hold your hand on your bright days and stay steady through your dark ones. They don't try to change you, they grow with you. You'll learn that love is not the grand gestures or the dramatic reconciliations. It's the small moments, the warmth of a shared silence, the comfort of knowing you don't need to earn your place. It's the safety in saying, I'm afraid, and hearing, I'm here. And when you reach this kind of love, you'll understand something sacred, that all along, your journey wasn't about finding the one. It was about becoming the one, the version of yourself, who could finally receive the love you always deserved. So if you're still waiting for that person, don't lose hope. Every heartbreak has been sculpting you, preparing you, refining your capacity for love that lasts. Because real love isn't found through searching, it's found through healing. And when it arrives, you'll know, not because it's loud, but because it's peaceful. Not because it completes you, but because it meets you.